Well, it's good to see you guys. I am attorney Michael Eline. Give me some 5x5 so I know that you guys can hear me. If you're in the chat yet, just trying to figure out the gain on my mic so I've got a decent balance without having this thing sticking in my face. So let's get that tie squared away there. All right. Thanks, Bo Ghibli. So I'm attorney Michael Eline, and I am a personal injury attorney licensed to practice law in Texas and California. But I do this show separate and apart from my work at my law firm, where I help primarily motorcycle accident victims who get in catastrophic motorcycle accidents, because I'm also a patriot and an inactive U.S. Marine, and I love my country. So I like exposing corrupt government officials and holding the government accountable, because I think people who worship the government are the primary enemies of the republic. So one of the things that I'm going to do first here, really quick, guys, let me just get the show set up while we're waiting for people to come in, right? Let's do it this way. Let's do this. Start it over again here. All right. I am attorney Michael Eline, and I am a lawyer licensed to practice law in Texas and California, and I believe in holding the government accountable. And I believe that it is the greatest duty of all American citizens to hold corrupt government officials accountable, because we are a constitutional republic where the government needs to be bound by the chains of the Constitution, first and foremost. And what we've seen over the last several years in particular is a strengthening of the federal government and police forces in violation of our Constitution and Bill of Rights. We've seen organizations like the World Economic Forum and the United Nations trying to make America Europe again, trying to make us like serfs, and only government officials and billionaires are the stakeholders. Guys like Bill Gates and all those kind of guys. I don't like guys like that. Billionaires who throw their wealth around. I remember the days when Democrats were the people who actually fought against big government. And I consider myself, I'm a former Democrat. I'm a recovering Democrat, because I've seen the modern Democrats become like Marxists, where they now have become like the Republicans of old, where they're the party of big business and big government, and the party of holding down and putting down the little guy. So part of my show is exposing corrupt government officials. And this particular show that we're going to do today is about whistleblowers. And a lot of you guys probably don't know a whole lot about whistleblowers, but we're going to talk about whistleblowers today. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to kick off my show the normal way that I do. But I want to, first of all, thank all my viewers for showing up today. We've got Jody Shiloh. Thanks for coming. And thanks, Rami. Thanks, Rami. Rami helped me out with some video editing today. So today we're going to do some really cool videos where we expose corrupt cops who were whistle blown upon by good cops. If you believe there's such a thing, I think there is. And we're going to get into some other government officials and government jobs where we have a whistleblower exposing human trafficking. Rami helped me with that video. And we're also going to get into some FBI whistleblower stuff where we're going to watch some FBI agents testify before Congress about the corrupt activities of the current FBI and the current administration, targeting parents and targeting law-abiding citizens, trying to put them on no-fly lists, trying to make their life difficult for questioning authority. So we see the billionaire class, especially the World Economic Forum, pushing for this new society of population control and silencing the opposition. And we see that big tech has worked in unison to make that happen. And so this show, we're going to really expose some of that. Right on. Steve Conkler hooked me up with a super sticker. So thank you, Steve. And again, anybody who wants to throw me a super chat or a super sticker or purchase a copy of my digital ebook, not this soft cover, but a digital version of this ebook, I'm selling them for $19.99, and I take you on my journey of becoming a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad, and how you can do it in other states besides California, how to find a lawyer to study under, and just some inspiration to show you how I did it, coming from a construction worker background and an inactive, honorably discharged Marine, where I got injured at School of Infantry and at Camp Pendleton, and how that sort of led me on the trajectory to becoming a lawyer with no law degree, and then later going to law school and getting a law degree after I was already a practicing attorney, just to silence all you fools who think that a worthless piece of paper that you paid $100,000 for means anything, because it doesn't. People who have critical thinking skills are the people who matter in this world. And because of the public education system that we have today, there's less and less and fewer of those types of people. And so my channel is dedicated towards helping people learn about and teaching critical thinking so you can take back your rights. So the first thing I'm going to do is kick off my show the normal way that I do, with my cool intro video, so you can learn a little bit about me and what I do before we get the show started.
Another edition of Ask Michael Eline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel.
That's right. We never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And they actually did take it down for a week when I discussed some stuff about a whistleblower from WikiLeaks. So we know that the thought police doesn't like it when you expose their anti-American operations. And so just for all of you guys out there, America is the last possibility of hope for the world. We have a constitution and a Bill of Rights. We are a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. That is a lie that has been taught to you by Marxists and fools who don't know anything about our history, and they conflate and try to make democracy the same as a republic. It is not. And I've gone into that in some of my other shows. I challenge anybody who wants to come on my show and debate me about that. We can do that. But in short, a democracy is where two wolves and a sheep show up for lunch and decide what's on the menu, right? And in a republic, two wolves and a well-armed sheep show up and decide what's on the menu for lunch. And that's because the idea behind a republic is to protect the rights of the individual. The idea behind a democracy is majority rule. So the majority can vote to take away the property rights or the happiness, because property was deemed happiness by our founding fathers, with a majority vote. And of course, if you, like, for example, a union would be a prime example of that. You have a couple of really good hard workers in your union, and then you got a bunch of other loafers standing around with their hands out because they get a raise no matter what. And so in a republic, that's not how it works. And so that's another reason why I became a libertarian and left the Democrat Party, because I'm a classical liberal. I believe in like Hayek or Thomas Jefferson, like our founding fathers believed. And you see how the academic institutions are trying to destroy our founding fathers, removing their statues. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, because they had slaves, right? Well, everybody had slaves pretty much in that day and time, and that was the norm. And so trying to judge people based on some Marxist professor's view of the world today is an impossibility, and you have to look at things in their historical context. That Bill of Rights is the reason why those people have the right to complain and protest about these things. But what they're really trying to do, guys, and I want you to understand this, is people like Gates and the World Economic Forum, they're trying to destroy your image of our founding fathers, because the next step is to say, check it out. The next step is for them to say, well, they were bad people, so that means that the Bill of Rights is bad and the Declaration of Independence is bad, and we need to go into like a Marxist style system where we just get rid of all those rights because you don't need rights. And you see the leader of the World Economic Forum saying human rights are just a fantasy. Nobody really has rights, and we need to have population control. Reduce the population. The same people selling things that are supposed to make you better are the same people behind reducing the population. So if you, I mean, if you're capable of critical thinking, you're not going to buy their poison. And I think the people who are capable of critical thinking know exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, good seeing you, Gloria Ad. I'm really happy that you showed up. Rami's hungry. And yeah, right, Jim. They're saying that George Washington was a terrorist, and they all worship Karl Marx, right? And they try to say that Hitler was actually right wing, but actually Hitler was a member of the German Communist Party, and he actually was a socialist, and he tried to nationalize industry. And he actually did, you couldn't have any kind of industry unless you were a member of the Nazi Party. And of course, you had to form alliances in order to come into power with the capitalists and with the military industrial complex of his day. But he was actually a bona fide socialist communist. That's what Hitler really was. But the leftists and the campus crusaders try and say he was a right winger. The same people who are now burning Israeli flags and saying that Jews are bad, think about this, the same exact people are saying that Hitler was right wing. And they're calling people like me a Nazi because I have friends who are Jewish and I support my friends who are Jewish. And if you try to mess with them, you're going to have some trouble, because this Marine doesn't play games like that. My attitude is that we're all free people, and no matter what your race, no matter what your gender, male or female, we're all equal in the eyes of the Lord, and we need to treat each other with respect. And what these people are doing, and these campus crusader personality types, are trying to divide us based on race and segregation. And if you go to my community tab on my YouTube channel, you'll see some examples. The government's giving out grants right now to one organization, a black organization, that's encouraging resegregation. And that's precisely what Martin Luther King didn't want. He was not a proponent of black nationalism. That is an old black nationalist movement, which you could basically compare to like the Nazi Party in America. There's really no different except for skin color. No difference. They're trying to separate people based upon race. And of course, we know that Karl Marx hated Jews, even though he was Jewish, and that the communist government in the Stalin hated Jews, right? Because we hear the leftists always say, well, people who are racist are right wing. No. Communists are definitely racist. And you see that now with what they're doing by waving their Palestinian flags. By the way, Yasser Arafat's salute was the Hitler salute. And Adolf Hitler had his own Nazi SS unit, that the Schutzstaffel, that was their premier unit. The Schutzstaffel was their political troopers, their armed political troopers, and it was called the SS Handschar. So the stuff that they teach in the public schools is basically a lie. And what you're going to learn here is the reality, the truth. I'm going to hit you with a truth pill. So for your younger kids who have been brainwashed in the public education system, you're going to probably want to turn off my show. You're going to have a hard time listening to me because you're going to go on overload. You're like, wait a minute, but my professor said this, or my teacher said that. Well, yeah, because that's all they know. That's their curriculum, but it's a lie. And so we're going to get into now today's show a little bit about whistleblowing. Hey, by the way, I want to thank everybody for showing up. Plead the Fifth, love seeing you, man. And Jeff, Ralph Riley, hoorah, good seeing you, brother. And everything you've been taught is a lie. That's right, guys. Everything you've been taught is a lie. And then BZ Watchdog, right on, brother. Good seeing you, man. And then Seriously Fork says, how can you support Trump, who regularly said Hitler did some good things? Well, actually, I'm a libertarian, and I've never heard anything like that, except for hardcore leftists like you who try to cause problems. I've never heard Hitler say, or Trump say Hitler did anything good. But I've heard a lot of leftists say that Hitler did a lot of good things. I mean, euthanasia, abortion, death on demand, anti-smoking. Let's see. Basically, probably 80% of the Democrat Party platform was actually something that the Nazi state supported. So I don't understand, including hatred of Jews, which we see now happening on the college campuses, burning Jewish flags, harassing Jewish college professors. So seriously, Fork, maybe you should have a look in the mirror and struggle with your cognitive dissonance somewhere else. But for all of you people who want to learn about the reality of life and what's really going on and learn some critical thinking skills, I welcome you to my channel. And Jim, I love having you here. And Ralph, yeah, I've heard that the thing about the Khazarians and all that. And irrespective of what people think of people who are different color or different race, that's your personal thing. My position is that we're all God's children and that we all need to love one another. And I have my own worldview, and I don't support either political party. I look at both of them as controlled opposition. And I think that the only way we're ever going to be able to take back our republic is for us to start forming parallel systems and opt out of all the poison that they're trying to sell us. I mean, look at what the Amish and the Mennonites did. Man, they've had pretty good lives for themselves. I don't think that they've had any instances of autism in the Mennonite or the Amish communities. I mean, put it in the sidebar if you can see that. Natural foods, real milk, no chemicals. We know that we have legalized chemicals being sprayed on our foods, petroleum-based medicine. I mean, so many things. We know that an attorney back in 1909 working for the Rockefellers basically dictated the medical industrial complex's rules and regulations and said that holistic healing, nutrition, and natural foods is out. And that's why most doctors you see nowadays look like fatties. And they do this whenever you talk about vitamins or natural healing, allowing the body's own ability to heal itself naturally with good nutrition and herbs. That's out, right? Because if you can't sell a pill, right, that's a bad thing. You got to make money, got to be able to patent it, right? So I'm a believer in people being able to spiritually take care of themselves, exercise, good food, good nutrition, taking care of yourself spiritually and physically. And so that's part of what we do on my show. And I'm hoping that some of the original liberal hippies who sort of allowed themselves to become part of the new Marxist Democrat Party will start suffering from cognitive dissonance and come back to classical liberalism, where we distrust billionaires who make billions of dollars while they're a senator or a congressman, and we realize that these are corrupt people who shouldn't be in power. And we start going after these multi-billion-dollar corporations who are dictating public policy for their own gain. And now with the World Economic Forum trying to eliminate you and reduce the population while at the same time trying to buy up all the farmland. I mean, do you really want to buy food from someone who wants to reduce the population? I mean, think about that. I mean, if you're a critical thinker, you'll realize that 1 + 1 = 5. I mean, this is George Orwell stuff, guys. So anyways, thanks for everybody for showing up. And we're going to get into, and we're seriously forked. What other choice is there? That's right, Rami. What other choice is there? So let me start off really quick here with my first video of the day. Well, actually, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what whistleblowers are, because that's what the show is about today. And so we've seen people like Edward Snowden, right? A whistleblower who exposed corruption. We've seen guys like the Australian guy, WikiLeaks. Man, his name is evading my brain right now. But the government's going after them. We know that based on his testimony, the CIA was trying to get DNA from his kids so they could target him using his DNA structure. We know that that certain things are being made in labs now that can be used to target your DNA and wipe out your whole genetic family tree. We know that communist China, I guess they purchased Ancestry.com. And so if you sold your DNA to companies like that, now it could be used to make something that they could sell as something that's good for you, perhaps, that you might put into your body that could actually hurt you. And so we know that's a fact. You can fact check that. The FBI, an FBI whistleblower, and other testimony has come out talking about that DNA can be used to make bioweapons against your genetic structure. And so we know that's going on. And that scares me when those very same types of people who want to reduce the population are buying up all the farmland. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree that that's disconcerting. That's another reason why I encourage people to have their own herb garden, to grow their own food, and to trade with each other and form parallel systems, because the system is so corrupt and billions of dollars are coming from people who want to reduce us, who want to reduce the population. So I think that we should be having as many babies as possible and homeschooling them, making sure that they're properly educated, properly fed. And we can do that by forming parallel systems. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree that we can do that. And I'm going to help teach you the law, and I'm going to help teach you the critical thinking skills that I learned as a lawyer, and also from having really good parents and going to really good private schools as a youngster. And I think that I'm a pretty good critical thinker, and I think that I'm going to be able to help you guys be able to become better thinkers. And yeah, that's right. Assange plead the fifth. That's right. So basically, Let me just share this with you. A whistleblower is an individual, typically an employee or former employee of an organization, who exposes information or activity that is deemed illegal, unethical, or not correct within their organization or another entity, often to the public or to those who can affect action. Here are some key points about whistleblowers. The purpose of a whistleblower's act. There's a law about protecting whistleblowers, but obviously it doesn't really work, right? Because the guys who really expose the deep state nonsense, the terrorism that being hoisted upon our own people, that they end up having to move to Russia or live in a foreign embassy somewhere, right? But anyways, there is a whistleblower act, and it's out of a desire to reveal wrongdoing, which can include fraud, corruption, abuse of power, health and safety violations, or any other misconduct that might harm the public interest or the operation of justice. There are protection laws. Many countries have laws to protect whistleblowers from retaliation, such as demotion, determination, harassment, or other forms of punishment. These laws vary widely in scope and effectiveness. For instance, in the United States, the Whistleblower Protection Act offers some safeguards for federal employees, while other laws cover different sectors like finance, healthcare, environmental protection. And the old Democrat Party was behind a lot of the environmental protection laws, and now they're the same people supporting these large corporations. It blows my mind how, as soon as they gained power and the billionaires started paying them, all of their ethics went out the window. You know, I mean, these people, all these chemicals being sprayed onto our food, and we're eating that stuff. It causes harm to us. And they say, well, it's acceptable in these amounts. The same people saying it's acceptable in those amounts, they'll get a job at the FDA or the CDC, right? And then they'll go back to their job working for the big food company or big pharma. And these are the people actually affecting policy. And you guys use your critical thinking skills, guys. That's ridiculous. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with me that that's insane, that people who are selling things that could harm us are in a position to say what's safe for us to eat or put in our body. That's ridiculous, and it should not be acceptable in any free country. That proves to you that we're not in a free country anymore, when these billionaires have the ability to decide what we can and can't eat and buy up our farmland and inject our food and our cattle with things that could potentially harm us or harm our DNA. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Now, the methods of disclosure are that they might disclose the information through internal channels, such as reporting to a supervisor or through an ethics hotline, or they might go internal if internal mechanisms fail or are deemed unsafe. External channels can include media outlets, regulatory bodies, or directly to law enforcement. Challenges. Despite legal protections, whistleblowers often face significant personal and professional risks. They might experience social isolation, career sabotage, legal challenges, or even threats to their personal safety. Like they're a snitch, right? Oh, you're a snitch. Right. That's what they do. So the impact of whistleblowing is great. It can lead to significant reforms, legal actions, or changes in corporate or governmental practices. Examples include Edward Snowden revealing NSA surveillance programs, which were totally illegal, by the way, guys. They were totally illegal, and they're still illegally surveilling us, because when one party controls these organizations, they just get away with it. And when they fill it with political partisans, which Obama started doing, no one's going to rat anybody out because it's become a religion. The progressivism and liberalism, what they call liberalism, I call Marxism, has become a faith-based religion, right? It's a faith. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. It's a faith-based religion of man, where they believe that it's okay to rig a vote if they have to in order to stay in power, because it's a faith-based religion that they believe with religious fanaticism that what they're doing is good and righteous. And so you have to be silenced. And we see that with the social media companies, Silicon Valley's trying to silence anyone they disagree with. They'll put a bogus fact check label on a post that you did that's true, but they'll find something about it and they'll say that it's false, and they'll say an independent third party commie that we hired said that it was fake. That's what they do. And then they'll try to ban you, and in violation of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which we'll get into. I've had Jason Fick on my show, who's an expert on Section 230. We'll have him on again. He's got another case right now down in the Southern District, and I think he's going to win it. And I think once that happens, guys, you're going to see me suing the crap out of Meta and these big tech companies, and they're going to be forced to stop banning accounts and blocking people who are telling the truth, because there are a bunch of political nut jobs at these social media companies. Now, another one would include Chelsea Manning disclosing U.S. military and diplomatic documents. Now, a lot of people say that they're traitors, but look, Hillary Clinton violated her NDA, her non-disclosure agreement. If somebody in the military, like the Navy SEALs, had violated the agreement that she had, they'd still be in the brig for life. So, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If our politicians aren't going to uphold the law and abide by these things and use their friends in the news media to run a bunch of bogus stories and protect them, then all bets are off, guys. Whistleblowers all day, every day. Ethical considerations. Whistleblowing is often discussed in ethical terms. It involves balancing loyalty to one's employer or colleagues with the duty to a higher ethical standard or public standard. This ethical conflict is central to many whistleblower narratives. Now, public perception. Whistleblowers are sometimes hailed as heroes for their courage and commitment, and then other times they're viewed as traitors. And that's because the lapdog press, who supports one political party and always only has, is going to attack anyone who goes after their political class. So you'll be absolutely branded a traitor if you say something bad about Hillary, but you'll be branded a really great whistleblower if you say something bad about Orange Man. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So now that we've explained what a whistleblower is, we're going to get into one of the most famous whistleblowers in American history, Serpico. And so Serpico is one of my heroes. And I guess what you guys also need to understand before we get into Serpico is that police tend to sort of model themselves after the people that they jail. You'll notice that police are becoming more like prisoners, right? The tattoos, motorcycle clubs, and they usually are in a position where, oh, you're a snitch if you rat out the thin blue line, right? You're a snitch, right? So they have that same philosophy now, and it's been going on for a long time. But the problem is the government and government officials took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. Criminals don't take an oath to uphold the Constitution. Criminals take an oath to uphold their bonds with each other. And of course, we know that they usually flip on each other as soon as there's a problem, right? So they'll rat each other out very quickly if it means that they're going to get locked up. Now, but police have adopted that same criminal code where you're a rat if you rat out your fellow cops who are engaged in illegal activities and things like that. And so give me a bunch of ones if you agree that police should be held to a higher standard and they should be praised by fellow officers and not looked at as snitches when they rat out a corrupt officer. That's the difference. That oath is what makes the difference. Just like me as a Marine. If I was ordered to fire on American citizens, I would not. If I was ordered to disarm American citizens, I would not, because my oath was to uphold the Constitution, which includes the Bill of Rights. And there is a Second Amendment that all free men have a right to be armed and to be able to defend themselves against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The reason why we fought the Revolutionary War, that what sparked it off, was the king trying to seize our firearms. So why on earth would any patriot in the military or law enforcement unit ever try to take away firearms from a law-abiding citizen? They're traitors. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree they would be traitors under the Constitution for doing that. Now that we have laid the foundation, let's get into Serpico, because I think Serpico, this is a 2-minute video to lay the foundation of what a true whistleblower is and what a hero is, in my opinion. Let's get into it. That's right. Serpico.
Within the New
I'm
York
going to go ahead and
Police
rewind this
Department.
because I had it on the wrong video. Just bear with me, guys. Let's get back into
Frank Serpico, the whistleblower who exposed police corruption. Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be discussing one of the most prominent whistleblowers in history, Frank Serpico.
Actually, Serpico.
His story is a compelling tale of bravery and integrity in the face of systemic corruption within the New York Police Department. Frank Serpico was born in 1936 in Brooklyn, New York. He joined NYPD in 1959 and was seen as an honest and dedicated officer. However, as he moved up the ranks, he began to witness widespread corruption and bribery within the department. In 1970, Serpico made headlines when he testified before the Knapp Commission, which was investigating allegations of police corruption.
Every time they questioned me, they tried to prove that what I was saying was untrue, rather than take the attitude that allow me to assist them in an investigation. He informed me about the pad.
Now, the pad, what is a pad? How do you define it?
Pad is a systemized pickup of monies from gamblers in order to give them immunity from arrest. We must create an atmosphere in which the dishonest officer fears the honest one and not the other way around. I hope that this investigation and any future ones will deal with corruption at all levels within the department and not limit themselves to cases involving individual patrolmen. I hope that police officers in the future will not experience the same frustration and anxiety that I was subjected to for the past 5 years at the hands of my superiors because of my attempt to report corruption.
The Knapp Commission, now called the Commission to Investigate Alleged Police Corruption, was a 5-member panel initially formed in April of 1970 by Mayor John V. Lindsay to investigate corruption within the New York City Police Department. The creation of the commission was largely a result of the publicity generated by the public revelations of police corruption made by Patrolman Frank Serpico and Sergeant David Dirk. He revealed that many officers were on the take accepting bribes from gamblers, drug dealers, and brothel owners. He also shared his own experiences of being ostracized and threatened for not taking bribes. Serpico's revelations led to the indictment of several officers and the establishment of new anti-corruption measures. However, his whistleblowing also had negative consequences for his own life. He was shot during a drug bust in 1971, which he claimed was an attempted hit by corrupt officers. He resigned from the NYPD in 1972 and has since criticized the institution for not doing enough to address corruption. Frank Serpico's bravery and integrity have made him a hero to many, and his story has inspired a generation of whistleblowers. In 1973, a movie of Serpico's experiences titled Serpico was released and it starred Al Pacino. Frank Serpico's whistleblowing helped shed light on the depth of corruption within the New York Police Department and sparked important changes. While he paid a high price for his honesty, his legacy lives on as a symbol of integrity, courage, and the importance of speaking truth to power. Thank you for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Yeah, so, Serpico was one of the more famous whistleblowers. And he was famous because, a famous actor, what the heck is that actor's name? Al Pacino played, he kind of looks like Al Pacino a little bit in that shot right there, right? So that's what made him famous. But there are all kinds of whistleblowers out there. And so we're going to start off with the municipal police force whistleblowers, and then we'll get into the FBI, and we're even going to cover some stuff, I think, over in the UK, and we're even going to cover a non-law enforcement whistleblower working for one of these non-governmental organizations that are being funded by your tax dollars, which is one of the videos that Rami helped me work on. But just really quick, because I always get you guys, all you academics who think that you're just so smart because you went to Harvard or Yale and you think you know everything. And you say that, no, we're a democratic republic, or we're a constitutional democracy. You always have to use democracy, which is the Greek word for mob rules based upon Socrates and Aristotle's writings. But let's just really quick look at what our founding fathers called it, because that's what matters. Because it's the definitions and words what they meant at the time of the founding of this republic. So Thomas Jefferson said, a democracy is nothing more than mob rule, where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49. That's Thomas Jefferson. John Adams said, remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy that did not commit suicide. John Adams. Ben Franklin, democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch. Liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. Ben Franklin. Alexander Hamilton, we are a republican government. Real liberty is never found in the despotism or in the extremes of democracy. This whole new theory, concept, lie that they teach in the school system and on the college campuses that we're a democracy is precisely because we have a hidden hand in our government institutions trying to make us like Europe again. And they hate the concept, especially of the First Amendment. They don't like it that you have the right of free speech. That's why they're trying to brand everything as hate speech that they disagree with. They want to silence you. You see Hillary trying to say that people need to be reprogrammed and put into concentration camps for supporting Orange Man, right? And we need to strengthen democracy. It's always democracy this, democracy that. Democracy is when the majority can take away the rights of the minority. So just remember that. This is what our founding fathers said. So I don't really care what some college professor or public school teacher says who likes to wave communist and Palestinian flags around. I care what the people who actually set up our country said. Give me a bunch of ones if you believe what our founding fathers said over what some academic with a worthless piece of paper on their wall says, brainwashing your children. Now let's get into some other police whistleblower stories because that's what we're here for. So here we go. This is one about a police about death, what police said about death by suicide, but was it? And so we have a police whistleblower reporting on misconduct. It's a short clip. Let's listen to it and you decide for yourselves.
Detective Matthew Farwell was finally charged in her murder, but at least two of his fellow Stoughton police officers have also been accused of using Sandra as a sex toy, just passing her around. Not one of them is still on the force, but those other two fellas are fighting to get their jobs back. What? Wow. Wow. I can't wait for the Klieg light. And my next guest knows the type. In 2020, Austin Handel was an officer in Dunwoody, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, when he was fired after helping expose a sexually abusive superior. He now works to help other whistleblowers as co-founder of the Lamplighter Project, and Austin Handel joins me now live. Austin, thanks for being on. Just your overall reaction to all the details that I've been doling out tonight and other nights.
I'm just shocked by the fact that this is even a problem. The fact that someone that was so full of life and so beautiful and so trusting of the police force was subjected to such heinous and terrible crimes. And it never should have happened. And we have to create systems to ensure that they don't ever again.
Austin, at least 3 cops are alleged by even the police themselves in an internal investigation to have sexually abused this girl, right? While she was a girl. She became an adult, but this went on for almost a decade, right? But there might have been a 4th. And all I keep thinking, is this an aberration? Is this just this police department that's such a scumhole?
No.
Or do you think that this is more widespread than most people want to believe?
I think we have a problem across the country where there is not a great system in place right now for officers to report misconduct, even for younger officers, especially that see misconduct happening from their superiors or from veteran officers. They are quickly retaliated against, like I was in our city, and they're pushed out of the policing profession forever. Thankfully, in my case, I had enough resources to fight back and to clear my name, but also to expose what the city had done. But in this case, it's all too similar to what the other cases we hear at the Lamplighter Project are like.
I want to be, I want to just be like on the record as we have this conversation. I am a huge supporter of police officers, even the ones who've given me tickets, because I think they do heroes work. They put themselves in danger every single day. They get spat on. They get.
Sounds like a personal problem.
sworn at. You just need to watch one episode of On Patrol Live to see just how awful people treat them and how dangerous their everyday is. So I'm a huge supporter. And I know that people allegedly, like these guys, are bad apples. But I am fascinated when you say that the system is hard for the younger cops to tell on some of these bad apples. When I look at Matthew Farwell's text messages, all I can think of was like, dude, you know crime. Dude, you know how crime works. You're not even worried about these texts, yet didn't even delete them. Does this resonate with you?
Well, and I think it speaks to arrogance. I think the problem is that obviously Matthew Farwell thought that this was something he could get away with, and he got away with it for years. And it just goes to show again that if this is what was happening just to this one person, who else knows what's happened in communities like this across the nation? There's a lot of officers, especially veteran officers, who, again, I echo your concerns that officers are inherently good. And I believe in the profession is ethically sound. And I believe that most officers try their best to be ethical and to do the right thing. But there are police officers among us that they protect themselves, they protect each other, simply because they've worked together for so long and they think they're a family. But in reality, we're supposed to protect and serve the public, but there was no protection here, and there certainly was no service to the public in this.
Well, and actually, he's wrong. The Supreme Court has ruled on more than one occasion that the police have no duty to protect individuals. Now, the word public can mean many things, but in the auspices of police, it means protecting government property and government officials. That's what the police are for. Now they may think that they have a duty to protect you, and good if they do. If I was a police officer, I certainly would want to protect people and individuals, but no, they don't have a duty to protect individuals. That's not their job. We saw that happen with the Rodney King riots. The only people who escaped most danger were the well-armed Korean shopkeepers. Remember, they had AR-15s and shotguns and pistols, and they were able to fight off the looters and the rioters and protect their property. And you do that nowadays, and the current Soros prosecutors will try to arrest you. And so we see that they're trying to make America like Europe, where if you fight against evil, then you're the problem. It's the King of England never liked it that he had a well-armed populace. The King of England is really good friends with the World Economic Forum and all of these people that were into all the lockdowns, and the Bank of England and all these Europeans. They're trying to put that system of government back onto us, we the people. America we are the lighthouse of freedom of the world. And unfortunately, our government has been co-opted by people who hate freedom and will sell their own mother out for a dime. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. And we see that happening with our police force as well. So we're done listening to this guy. Now let's get into another one of a whistleblower who was targeted. And this is one where this happened in this is the Hello World leak. I mean, there's so many. I just want to let you hear for yourself, and you can decide. I report, you decide.
2 former employees at travel company Hello World are under criminal investigation, suspected of whistleblowing. It was revealed in February. Hello World gave free international flights to the family of Finance Minister Matthias Cormann.
Corrupt
Flights
official.
were received months before the company won a $1 billion travel contract. The Age reports this morning, Victoria Police attended the homes.
And so we see this happening a lot. These multi-billion-dollar nonprofit organizations, they get money from like the Biden administration to bring kids into the country unaccompanied by parents, or funnel illegals across. They work with the cartels, and in CNN and PMSNBC and all the government-run news media stations run interference and say that people like me who expose that, we're just wacky conspiracy theorists. We don't know what we're talking about. How dare you say something bad about Sleepy Joe or Kamala? Clearly, you're a racist, bigot, and a homophobe. That's what they do, guys. If you speak the truth, they try to paint you as like some kind of like an outcast and make you look terrible.
The pair to question them about the leaked information.
It is Australian. That's right. So what I'm trying to do, plead the fifth, is show how it's systemic. This corruption within the deep state, the administrative state, is systemic. We saw former President Obama going over there to hang out with two-tier Kier, right?
because we know that he is a big time proponent of the British style government monarchical constitutional monarchy system that they have. We know that he said that he wants America to have the same gun laws as Australia. We can't even buy a gun in Australia. All right. So we know and he's on the far left. I wouldn't even call it left anymore. I would just call it Marxist side, where we're just little people, and the people at the top, the billionaires and the political class, they have all the rights, privileges, and immunities, and all we are is serfs, just like what the King of England would love us all to be still to this day. So here's one about a fired New York police officer. He filed this officer filed a federal whistleblower lawsuit. I just want you guys to get an idea of what's going on out there.
I was blacklisted. I knew I was blacklisted.
Anthony Barbarin, a fired former Eastchester police officer, says he felt a sense of deja vu when he saw the documentary Crime and Punishment. It highlighted my I-Team interviews with minority NYPD cops who claimed they were pressured to meet illegal ticket quotas.
I think I was fired because I was blowing the whistle.
Now, plead the fifth. You are right. There are people who can buy guns in Australia, so strike that. But good luck. Australia made everybody turn in their guns, and crime skyrocketed. And now, in order to get a gun, you basically have to be heavily connected to the political class. I have friends who live in Australia. You really can't get one. Same thing in Canada. If you had a gun, you got to keep it locked up in your house. And eventually, when you die, you can't pass it on intestate, so it gets taken away from you, from your family members. So we see that basically we have this new generation of politicians supporting this globalist system. And of course, the biggest threat to globalism is a well-armed populace. And so we are on their radar. And they have people in power right now who are big time supporting that same philosophy, like Barry Soetoro, aka Obama, or Sleepy Joe or Kamala, raised in Canada by a Marxist father, right? Not even raised in the United States. First thing she wants to do is reinstitute the so-called Assault Weapons Act. So if you have a bayonet lug on your rifle, that makes it an assault weapon. And so they're going to try to take it away. And if she gets just a couple more Supreme Court justices, DC versus Heller, Heller versus DC, all of our Second Amendment is going to be down the toilet. It's going to be just like Canada. And that's what the World Economic Forum wants. That's what Agenda 2025, I believe that's what it's called, is all about. No, 2030. Agenda 2030, which used to be called UN Agenda 21, but unfortunately for them, Orange Man got in, and so now they had to change the date to 2030 because they were expecting to have a one world government by then where nobody had any rights. Look it up.
On what was going on there. I was always bringing up ticket quotas.
Eastchester, along with New York City, denies quotas have ever existed. But Barbarin, a Hispanic officer in a largely white police force, now embroiled in a contentious federal discrimination lawsuit against the town, says he has documented proof.
You were expected to come in with at least, 15 to 20 tickets per month. This is what we'd have to do to show why we didn't produce tickets. At this point, numbers don't lie.
So, we've seen guys like Chili DeCastro come on and talk about that, right? Where you see cops making these illegal arrests, planting drugs in people's cars. You see them, trying to keep you from filming them. And now you know why, because they're under pressure to raise revenue. You got to make a certain amount of arrests. And if that means planting some drugs, so be it, right? Because they're the police. They've got the power. And you get charged. And what is a charge? Well, it's commerce, right? It's like you get charged when you go to the grocery store. You get charged when you get a ticket from the police. You got to pay something. Commerce. It's all about commerce. Let's go.
Why?
He has texts like this one where he complained about meeting numbers. Barbarin says he was sent for remedial training, but maintains the scrutiny didn't let up, even after he filed an EEOC complaint. He was accused of misconduct during an arrest and, after an internal disciplinary hearing, fired for lying under oath.
I felt like I was retaliated against, that there was an agenda to get me out.
The county attorney told us Barbarin was not targeted or terminated for being Hispanic, that an independent hearing examiner recommended termination, finding that his lies were manufactured to cover up his incompetence, unprofessionalism, and most importantly, his unconstitutional actions.
I signed this one right here, and you can see the difference.
Barbarin countered by showing us internal police reports where he claims his signature was forged and says the town's vendetta.
Hey, maybe he's Colonel Potter. For you guys who used to watch MASH, maybe he's Colonel Potter and he had his own radar signing stuff for him.
Went beyond him.
They'll retaliate not only against you, but your family. They'll make your life, a living hell.
His stepfather, Kenneth Simonetti, a longtime Eastchester firefighter, spoke out in public meetings after Barbarin's firing, claiming a police witch hunt.
I don't play games and I don't cause any trouble, but this is something that's affecting my family life. His family life.
Documents we obtained showed that then police chief requested an investigation into Simonetti by the fire department for possible abuse of sick time. The town spent $23,000 of taxpayer money for a private investigator who followed Simonetti, even taking surveillance pictures of his wife and her daughter.
That's just outright disgraceful. I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful.
Simonetti says the case never resulted in charges. He retired in August, now more vocal than ever.
They need to be held accountable. You can't be making false accusations against people.
That's right.
And Barbarin is also not going quietly, inspired by NYPD Lieutenant Edwin Raymond, who recently retired early to work on nationwide police reform. They believe outside oversight is needed to protect whistleblower officers.
All over the county.
Plead the fifth. I gotta take a break. Plead the fifth. Just said the magic word. Money, 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 money. Let's see what he's got to say. Plead the fifth. Thanks for the super sticker, brother. That $5 is going to get me a half of a sandwich tomorrow for lunch. And it's the thought that counts, guys. Anybody who throws me a super chat, anybody who helps support the channel, comments always go to the front of the line. I really do. And this is a international global channel. That's why I try to do videos from Australia, England. I try to show you the globalist cabal that is actively trying to strip us of our rights, freedoms, and privileges that were granted to us by our creator. And they're not supposed to be taken away by these jackboot thugs who are in power right now. And again, that's why I tell all you guys we need to form parallel systems. Martin Luther King, when his people were discriminated against by storekeepers, he boycotted the stores and formed his own parallel systems. Right now, we have our government telling us we can't collect rainwater. We can't grow herb gardens. Why do you guys think that is? I know why it is. Because they want to be your sole source of food, information, and sustenance. And the stuff that they're putting into our food, in my opinion, is poison. They're approving things that are toxic to the human body. We just found out that fluoride is a toxic substance. I always knew that. But finally, our government in the United States actually admitted it. But what's being done about it? Nothing. It's still being put in your toothpaste. Think about that, guys. They've admitted that it's poison, but they're not banning it. Why is that? Because the people in charge of these agencies that approve these things go back and forth to their job over at the FDA or wherever it is, right? CDC, and then back to their job working for General Mills or whatever. And that's what they do. And they just pay off all these congressmen and senators to help them get reelected. We don't look, I've lobbied Congress on behalf of cruise ship assault victims. For the international cruise victims on behalf of the late Kendall Carver, a dear friend of mine who passed away. His daughter was lost at sea. Many people think it was because she was assaulted and thrown overboard. And so I helped draft portions of the Cruise Ship Safety Act. And I remember going to the different congressmen and senators' offices with these victims, these child victims who had been assaulted. And you know what I mean by assaulted, like assaulted in that way. And so we were really, really upset about that. And so we got legislation passed to prevent that from happening, to hold the cruise ship industry accountable. But the cruise lobbyists would come right behind us and write bigger checks. And so ultimately the teeth were taken out of that legislation to where there's really no penalty if they don't abide by the law. And so that's what I'm talking about. These people are a den of vipers. When I was there, I felt the spiritual energy. These people are evil. These people in Congress and in the Senate, in my opinion, are the bottom of the barrel of people who would sell their own mother for money. It was disgusting. Washington, D.C. is the most spiritually corrupt place on this planet. And I tell you, I never want to go back there again. It was disgusting to me. And if any of you have been there who have a pure heart, I'm sure that you had that same feeling about it. But let's go ahead and finish up this video.
New York City, All I'm seeing is officers starting to speak up about how they're being targeted in different ways.
Several depositions of current and former Eastchester police officers have already been taken in connection with Barbarin's lawsuit. The town now expected to file a motion seeking to have the lawsuit dismissed. Barbarin hoping to take his case to trial. From Eastchester, Sarah Wallace, News 4 New York.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking.
All right, so that's, that's not the only thing that we have that we're going to talk about tonight. So let me just try to get queued up here real quick, guys. Give me 1 second. Just bear with me for a few seconds. We're going to talk about Rami's video. I just got to figure out how to get it up on the screen, Rami, because it's one of these. Yeah, I think I got it. All right. So this is some pretty bad stuff that's going on right now, guys, just disgusting stuff. And we're going to get into it. I just want to make sure you guys can see what I'm seeing. Let me get back up here. All right. All right. So this is a story about a woman who exposed one of these non-governmental organizations that your tax dollars are paying for, where they're trafficking children into the United States. And this is going to blow your mind. I was incensed. And I want you to see what's going on too. So let's let her talk and let's get into it. Hopefully I can make her talk.
Line in the sand moment was when I found out that GSA had awarded a contract to a company to transport unaccompanied minors.
What was that like for you?
It was like someone kicked me in my gut. Once I found out about the contract, after that night, I got on my computer and I started doing a Google search.
Action obligation 40 million, total contract value 347 million. But that's over $250 million. That's a lot of money to transport unaccompanied children. I mean, this is a big money business.
And that's why we're sitting here today, because as I shared before, what you know, you cannot unknow.
The crisis of conscience would only grow and reach inside the holy grail of the unaccompanied child transportation business. There's the white buses right there. That's the FedEx transportation hub for the unaccompanied minor children. They stop the transportation of children. They stop the money.
My name is Clarissa.
Can you believe this, guys?
And where do you work?
I work for General Services Administration, aka GSA.
And for those who are not familiar with what GSA is or what it does, can you talk a little about that?
GSA, it basically manages all the services for the federal government. Then you have the transportation side of GSA that manages travel, transportation, and logistics, that's the area that I'm working in right now.
And what sort of thing do you do in that department?
I'm what's called an 1102. I'm a contract specialist, and my responsibility is to work with contractors that provide products and services to the federal government. And I work on a team of contracting officers, and we award those contracts.
NGO stands for non-governmental organization. But in addressing political and social issues, they receive money from the government. These groups get large amounts of money. The more immigrants they represent.
So I got a question for you guys. Where are all these kids going? Thousands and thousands of children, they're being brought into this country without adults. Where do you think they're going? Put it in the comments. Where do you think they're going? I mean, we've seen the WikiLeaks thing about Pizzagate, which I believe really is true. I believe that Podesta is a piece of garbage. Now we know about what's going on at the P. Diddy parties. We know about Epstein Island. We know the FBI allegedly lost all the videotape footage of the Obamas and Bill Gates flying there 20 times or whatever. Who's the other guy that was going there? Clinton, all these political figures, the Prince of England going there, hanging out. Where do you think these kids are going? Give me some comments. Tell me what you think.
More money they receive. The film Line in the Sand, we saw so many of these companies. People were amazed and shocked to see just how many busing companies and making so much money off of the crisis. Were you aware of some of those names of those companies in the film? Or?
Not originally. Then I came over to TTL and became aware that GSA had awarded a contract for the transportation services.
What was your line in the sand moment here in this situation?
My line in the sand moment was when I found out that GSA had awarded a contract to a company to transport unaccompanied minors.
So you found this out, and then you had this line in the sand moment. What was that like for you?
It was like someone kicked me in my gut because I had just gotten a promotion, accepted the position for that particular division, and I was not aware at all that the agency that I worked for was party to transporting unaccompanied minors. Once I found out about the contract that night, I got on my computer and I started doing a Google search, and I did keyword searches. I did transport unaccompanied minors. I put in transport of immigrant children, and all of these websites popped up, and it led back to some of these NGOs and these companies, like Acuity, which was the original awardee of the contract. And then MVM protested that award, and the contract wound up back with MVM.
Within the last 9 months, MVM has received over $129 million from the Department of Homeland Security.
What?
$19 million
Why are we paying for this?
overall.
But as I continue to read the documents that I found online, I found that these are the illegal immigrants, minors who are coming over without their parents, without anyone that they knew, being shipped at every hour of the day, especially like late at night when we're all asleep in our beds and our children are safe.
Yeah.
These children were being shipped all over the place.
Shipped over, and that must have made you feel guilty.
Yeah.
For having this promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And that was your line in the sand moment. And we also have some documents here that we've been provided by you. Just to tell me what this one here indicates.
This is a GSA contract that was awarded to MVM.
And so it says here in this document that action obligation 40 million.
This is disgusting.
Base and all option total contract.
Can you believe that the Biden administration is paying for this? The camel is part of this, and people are actually going to vote for her.
Unaccompanied children. I mean, this is a big money business. It just seems like lost in all of this is any semblance of right and wrong. It's just
Where is CNN?
Who watched Line in the Sand.
Where's MSNBC?
And there's no regard for children or human beings.
Evidently, it's been very effective.
Very effective.
They have noted that they wanted the contractor to transport 1,000 children within a 24-hour period of notification. 1,000 children.
Why do they want that?
Exactly. That was my question. Why 1,000 every time within a 24-hour period?
Sounds like a quota or something to justify the contracts. It's almost like they treat these children like widgets or products.
Where are they going? Where are they going, guys?
Right.
Where is CNN? Where's 60 Minutes?
Federal employees sitting down to speak about this.
Where's the government-run press?
Now that I'm privy to this information, I can't forget about it. I can't just say I'm just going to wipe my brain clean.
Disgusting.
But most people do.
Yes.
So
yes.
Why is that?
And I'm guilty of that too. You hear someone will share.
That's right, RC.
And you just like, no, I just want my quiet life. I don't want to be involved. I just don't want all the drama. I just want to live my peaceful life and just
go through the comforts of life.
Yeah, the comforts of life.
Eric Cochran, my former whistleblower friend, he said people just want to go through the comforts of life.
Yes, right.
And a lot of people are going to.
What the heck is going on, man?
First of all, you're doing nothing wrong. You're just speaking the truth. Nothing that you've said here is improper in any way.
You're right, mate.
If anything, you're just being honest about the way it is. But you know how these people can be and how these government agencies can be. Are you concerned about retaliation?
No. And
I love her.
Lord, what they are doing is your mission. This is what you have placed us here for this very moment. This is what the Lord has placed in my heart to do. And people.
So because she's a Christian, she's probably already on the terror watch list. We know that the federal government, based on a March 4th of this year, the Congress released a report that the FBI has been engaged in a private-public partnership, an illegal private-public partnership targeting, in particular, white males, people who purchase Bibles, people who shop at Dick's Sporting Goods or Cabela's, and in particular, Christians, people who believe in faith. These people are considered the enemy of the present administration that's in power, aka Sleepy Joe and Kamala Harris. And because she's praying, I would imagine she's on that list. And I would imagine if she tries to fly in an airplane, she's probably also going to get secondaried every time she flies. The same thing is happening in Europe to people of faith. It's happening all across the world. And it's all starting, it's emanating from the billionaires like George Soros, in my opinion, Bill Gates, in my opinion, and the World Economic Forum, which I believe is the most evil, destructive organization on this planet.
Try and do whatever they want to do to me, but they're not fighting me. They're fighting God. This is about the children.
We got an unaccompanied minor right here, guys. This is heartbreaking right here. ¿Tienes sola, verdad?
If over 250,000 American-born children were missing, it would be spoken about in every Starbucks, coffee shop,
You'd think.
every restaurant, everywhere you walk, someone will be talking about, did you hear about 380,000+ children missing in the United States right now? People would be talking about, but because these are children from other countries, no names, no faces attached to them. People go to sleep, they lay their heads down every night, and they wake up oblivious to the fact that some mother, some father, some grandparent is missing their baby.
I don't think people know about it.
Right.
When
Yeah, they don't know about it.
Film Line in the Sand. Tell me about.
Where's CNN? Where's MSNBC? I call them government-run media. Why? Because they're running interference for these politicians who are bringing these children into our country. Apparently, there's millions of them coming in. Where are they going, guys? Where do you think these kids are going? I'm not unaccompanied minors. Where are they going? Why aren't people up in arms over this?
That experience for you.
Working for GSA, she became aware of contracts for the transportation of unaccompanied children. I recognize it's very emotional. Come on up.
Oh, just one more thing. Repeat after me. The legacy media is the enemy of the American people. The legacy media is the enemy of the American people. Thank God that Elon Musk liberated Twitter from those fascists who were banning people's accounts, and we got the Twitter files. And now we know that the CIA and the FBI had a revolving door employment scheme where they were bringing in these Marxist policies onto social media and banning people like me who spoke the truth, and trying to silence us, just like they're doing in the United Kingdom right now. Thank God for Elon and what he did by liberating that social media platform.
But it had faces. It wasn't a contract, words on a sheet of paper. It was actual faces.
¿Viniste sola? ¿Cuántos años tienes? 10 años. ¿De dónde vienes? ¿De Honduras?
Honduras.
¿Cuánto tiempo llevas viajando, mi reina?
All that said, you know the saying that you don't know what you don't know, right?
That's right.
But now you do know, and you cannot unknow.
That's right.
What you know now.
Give me a bunch of ones for her, man.
You're just trying to do your job. That's tough. Yeah.
Especially when you have a little 3-year-old girl walking.
3-year-old girls?
Last week I had a 3-year-old.
Unacceptable.
It was a paper sewed into his shirt. Address and phone number were wrong. As a parent, I don't like seeing that. It makes me get closer to my kids.
I thought he said there was an unaccompanied child that you guys just picked up.
Yeah, we got a few like 3 that we had earlier.
Traffic?
Yeah, they're gone already.
The last thing I want to say is there's another saying. It takes a village to raise a child. No.
Thanks, Rami.
It takes a village to protect a child.
Amen.
And the only reason why I'm here is because I do now. I cannot unknow what I know.
Right on, O'Keefe. Right on.
If you support Border Patrol agents like Zach, please support us at Citizen Journalism Foundation.
Yeah, do it, man. Support O'Keefe. I mean, O'Keefe is one of the only, he is a true freedom fighter. The legacy media is the enemy of the American people. The fact that they're not running this story 24/7 tells you who's paying their bills, and it ain't us. We're paying for this, and we're not being told about it. Our taxes are smuggling children into our country. We have no idea where they're going, guys. Why aren't all of you not right now writing your congressmen and senators trying to find out what the hell is going on? How is this being allowed? I mean, what the hell is going on with our country, guys? How are we supporting something like this? This is just unbelievable. Anyway, she's a whistleblower, and that's what this show is about. This show is about whistleblowers, and I want to thank Rami for blurting out all the kids. So give me a bunch of ones for Rami, guys. I don't know if he's for hire, but if you guys want to donate to Rami or or through me even, please do so. We need more patriots out there who are exposing this corruption. Look, I do this channel on my own dime. I take time off work to do it. This isn't a money-making operation for me. This is a labor of love because I care about our country, and I have children myself. And I believe in the constitutional republic, and I believe in the Bill of Rights, and I believe in freedom. And I want all of you and your children to be able to enjoy the same types of freedom that I had when I grew up in the 80s. We used to go outside and play. We were never worried about predators coming and trying to take us away. That's a new phenomenon. When you flood your country with 20 million illegal aliens and criminals, what do you expect is going to happen? Think about it. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing to our country, these politicians and these scumbags like the Soros family. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with me. Now, let's get into some more whistleblower videos before I completely lose my mind. Man, I'm still just beside myself right now. I've got to try to recover here. Every time I watch that, it makes me sick to my stomach. And I guess what makes me really upset is that I don't see the government. I don't see the news. I don't see the public school teachers, the professors talking about this stuff. They just ignore it. And they say that you're a racist, bigot, and a homophobe if you talk about it. This has got to end, guys. This has got to end.
The cover on inflated kidnapping statistics in Phoenix. And tonight, the police officer fired for blowing the whistle is back on the job. The city agreed to settle his lawsuit, and Dave Biskobing has an exclusive copy of that agreement showing exactly how much this case has cost you.
For the first time in 8 months, Sergeant Phil Roberts put on Phoenix PD blue and returned to work.
Nobody had the courage to say, hey, we made a mistake.
Was he retaliated against?
Yes, it's clearly retaliation.
It's a day that marks the end of a long legal battle between Sergeant Roberts and the city of Phoenix. In 2010, Sergeant Roberts blew the whistle about Phoenix's grossly inflated kidnapping.
Double tap the screen. Give me some
Allegations
likes,
that would lead
guys.
to federal and city investigations. Days later, top city leaders, including Assistant City Manager Ed Zerker and former Police Chief Jack Harris, held a meeting and decided to place Roberts under internal investigation. They would later fire Roberts, but he sued, and the city eventually offered to settle to avoid taking the case to trial later this year. The ABC 15 investigators have exclusively obtained the settlement agreement in Roberts' case. As we first reported last month, the city agreed to give Roberts his job back. He will work here at the Mountain View precinct as a patrol sergeant, overseeing a team of officers in the eastern part of the city. And now we're also learning Roberts agreed to drop his lawsuit without a monetary payout. The city also avoided having to pay Roberts' lawyers any money. Here's one of his attorneys before the settlement.
We've been waiting for 3 years for our day in court.
we don't want to wait any longer. Phil's already suffered enough damage, enough delay. It's time to get this resolved in some fashion.
But updated records show those 3 years left the city with a big bill for outside lawyers. The total, more than $540,000, $500,000 of taxpayer money spent to try and silence a whistleblower. I'm investigator Dave Biscobing, ABC 15 News.
Dave's been uncovering developments on this story for years now. All of his hard work is on our website. You can access that by.
So whistleblowers, underreporting, kidnappings, this child trafficking stuff. I mean, what the heck is going on? You know, one of my buddies told me that we have like hundreds of thousands of miles of underground tunnels, and he thinks that these people are taking the kids down into these tunnels and they're being trafficked. You know, I don't know what the truth is, guys, but I do know the truth about the fact that there is a major unaccompanied minor trafficking operation going on right now in our country, and you and I are being forced to pay for it. And right now we're going to go into an FBI whistleblower scenario. So this is the House Committee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. And this is an FBI whistleblower, and he's going to tell you about what's going on at the Marxist-run FBI right now. And it's going to blow your mind. I mean, I couldn't believe it when my viewers were sending me these videos and saying, Mike, you've got to show these videos and you've got to tell us what the law is on the law of whistleblowing, because it's unbelievable. They're like, Mike, why doesn't CNN, why doesn't MSNBC, why doesn't CBS or ABC report any of this stuff? We never see any of this stuff. All we see is a bunch of propaganda. Mike, can you please talk about it? So here I go. I'm going to talk about it, guys, because someone's got to.
And Mr. Allen, I'm going to give you a little notice. You've written some notes. As far as I'm concerned, you're the person I'm most interested in hearing from. I'm from Charlotte. I've been to the Charlotte field office. I know some people there. I was extraordinarily impressed by you and the other whistleblowers when you previously appeared before the subcommittee. I'm impressed by you again. I haven't been able to be here the whole time. I'm going to yield you some time, just if you have things that you wish to say in just a moment. But the first thing I'm going to say before I do that, and then I'm going to give Mr. Jordan the rest of my time, is I'm just overwhelmingly troubled by the fact that no one seems to be able to do much about what has happened to you. You got the Inspector General, very respectable person. You've done a lot of things that have been historic, but you know, you issue a management alert. And to me, it sounds ridiculous to say you don't think these guys at the FBI, the senior managers, understand that they shouldn't retaliate against somebody by putting them under extreme personal hardship while they engage in a completely baseless persecution over their security clearance, and they leave them in limbo for 27 months, and to this moment haven't paid what I understand to be
so that's what they do if you whistleblow against the FBI. They strip you of your security clearance, but they don't fire you, because that way you're stuck under the non-disclosure agreement. So you can't say anything unless you're called like before Congress. You got to have a lawyer with you. So they really make it impossible for you to be able to speak up against the destructive ends of the administrative state. This is why I believe that we need to abolish the administrative state. The alphabet agencies have become weaponized against the American people. They become political organizations. I mean, you go into an FBI office now, they got the rainbow flags. It's all a bunch of leftists now, according to one of my friends who used to work there. And by the way, I do represent whistleblowers, so I have the discovery. I know what's really going on over there. It's just not fair. When half of the American people doesn't trust their government, that tells you the government better change. But no, instead of changing, they're doubling down and they're attacking and going after the people that they disagree with politically. They're going after their political enemies, just like the Soviets did. This is no different than what happened under Joseph Stalin. Keep on watching. You're going to be blown away.
The consideration under the settlement that's been reached. That is astonishing. And if it's not, that's not astonishing enough, that all you can do is issue an alert. Congress does absolutely nothing. In the majority party, not one thing to impose on the Department of Justice or the FBI an appropriate sanction for what they've done. And we have a hearing about it, and everybody in the minority party, they're fearing what Donald Trump would do in the next administration, while they sit here and they look at the guy who's been persecuted by the FBI.
Yep.
And everybody
Not
in the
just
room
him.
understands it.
Hundreds of them.
Mr. Allen, do you have comments you wish to make? I'll give you about a minute, minute and a half, and then I want to turn the rest of my time to Mr. Jordan.
Yes, sir. I would just say that I consider the hearing today my last act of service as a public servant for the United States of America.
Oh, wait, he looks like a white racist, bigot, homophobe, right? Because that's, if he was a white dude, that's all CNN would be reporting. I just want you to see how insidious and nefarious these news organizations are running interference for these scumbags who hold political power right now. Listen to this guy.
And I'll give you my professional opinion. I was an intel professional for our country for many years, and I would give recommendations, and I'd also look at indications and warnings. So I would offer this to the American people as my warning to them. Since this is a warning to the American people, I say, I personally have no confidence that the FBI will rein in its own conduct. I've been persecuted along with Garrett, Steve and Kyle, and countless other whistleblowers. It is my opinion that the Bureau used reprisal and fear to control the workforce. It has been a seemingly effective tactic. I personally believe that there are no current effective checks and balances against them conducting lawless action with any type of correction in a legitimate time frame. I welcome the work of the IG, but I think any type of lawless action, there's no legitimate time frame to rein them back in. Their ability to overclassify information can allow them to stonewall forever.
So the IG is allegedly like an independent inspector general who allegedly investigates the government. So they hire a government agent to investigate the government.
To the American people, you have a duty as a citizen to vote, and I strongly urge you to do so. It's how you participate in the American experience. I know people have doubts about election integrity, but you must vote. It is your claim. Stake your claim and don't forfeit it willingly. Have your voice heard. My other recommendations are in the natural order. First, vote. The second is the Second Amendment. Arm yourself and know how to defend yourself. Make 3 to 4 friends in your neighborhood and promise to come to each other's mutual aid in times of hardship. And during the Great Depression, people stocked up a pantry. So I think that's a good practice, especially in our economic times, and make sure you have 3 to 4 months of food.
At least.
As a person of faith, I'd say pray the rosary, go to the First Friday devotions. That's for everybody, all my brothers and sisters of all faiths, and I know I'm Catholic, and read the gospel of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and live it every day.
Enemy of the state.
Thank you.
Enemy of the state.
You know, Mr. Allen, the fact that there are servants like you who have borne up under persecution that a lot of political leaders in this country do not care about is the thing that heartens the American people.
Yeah, so I don't care to listen to all the political speeches, but the bottom line is we know that Christians and Catholics are the enemy of the left, and they've declared war on people who believe in God. And we know that the World Economic Forum is the same way. They don't want people who have faith or who believe that we have rights that come from a creator. They're trying to destroy the ability for us to have rights, as evidenced by free speech. Anybody who engages in speech that they disagree with, they try to classify it as hate speech, and they try to silence you. Guys, if we have 4 more years of this country is done. Now let's get into another police whistleblower story. This is going to blow your mind. This is where they put a cop on the public register. This is what's happening, guys. If you disagree with the government, they'll try to harass you when you go to the airport. They've hired 80,000 IRS agents. I wonder who they're going to target, guys. Come on.
News has learned that a police whistleblower who exposed the manipulation of crime figures faces being put on a public register of disgraced officers. PC James Patrick has been accused of gross misconduct by the Metropolitan Police, who say he spoke to the media without permission. Mr. Patrick says the Met are trying to blacken his name. Our political correspondent, Michael Crick, joins me now. Michael.
Well, we were hearing earlier about the fall in violent crime. But if James Patrick is to be believed, then the fall in the police figures for crimes are not as good as they make out.
Fake numbers.
Last autumn, he appeared before a Common Select Committee outlining how, in his view, there were all sorts of ways that the police massage and fiddle the figures.
That's right.
Not least on rape. And this is what he had to tell the.
And in California, what they do is they lower the penalties, right? So now it's $900. You can steal up to $900, whereas before it was $500, and that was the felony, right? So what they do is they say, well, we're not going to arrest you or charge you with a felony unless it's up over 900. And then they can say, oh, crime went down. But the people that are living there are like, I don't want to live here anymore. People are fleeing California. San Francisco values are not what America wants. It's what the World Economic Forum wants. It's what the WHO wants. It's what the enemies of the American people want. But it's not what America wants.
Yeah, the committee.
Preference has developed to try and justify no crime on the basis of mental health or similar issues of vulnerability, or by saying that the victim has refused to go on to disclose to them.
Now, Mr. Patrick has been campaigning on this issue for a number of years now with tweets and a blog and writing a book. And as you can imagine, he's come into some dispute with his superiors at the Met. Last month, he decided finally to resign from the force with effect from the 9th of May. And he went ahead and a couple of weeks ago did a couple of interviews for the BBC. And now we've learned today that he faces misconduct hearings, gross misconduct hearings over those two interviews. His MP says that he's been treated very unfairly on this. And this shows that the leadership of the Metropolitan Police is in denial about the seriousness of what James Patrick exposed, his MP being Bernard Jenkin, the chairman of that Commons committee. James Patrick himself says it seems massively vindictive. And last week, he managed to ambush the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Bernard Hogan Howe, during a radio program on LBC.
I wanted to say to you that I felt very, very let down, in particular by the senior levels of the Met. And I wanted to take the opportunity to say that. But I sincerely hope that people who want to expose wrongdoing in the Met get a slightly less raw deal in the future.
Although you've got a very firm view about what you've seen and your experience, I have asked for some independent advice to find out whether your allegations are endemic or in fact your experience was a one-off. And at the end of that process, the inspectorate is looking at it. We'll both be better informed, I think.
Now, the Metropolitan Police have confirmed that there is a disciplinary hearing relating to the two media interviews. They say that PC Patrick remains a serving police officer and is therefore held to the same standards as any officer. The problem for him is that if he's found guilty, then he'll be put on a struck-off list that's kept by the College of Policing, which they intend in due course to publish. And that, of course, could be quite damaging to his future career prospects.
Michael Crick. And for more on that report, go to our website, channel4.com/news.
People that speak out, like people like me, we get targeted. When I go on the air, every time I go on the airplane, I get secondaried. My kids get secondaried. I'm harassed. I got the little S's on my flight ticket. It's because I speak out against the administrative state. To them, I am their enemy. But guess what, guys? I'm here right now fighting for you. And I'm hoping that we can form parallel systems and work together to help make this country safe for our children and for the future generations. And the way we do that is by forming parallel systems. We do business with just each other, the same way that Martin Luther King taught. That way we don't have to shop at some Luciferian store like Target. I never go to Target anymore. We try to grow as much of our own food as possible, and everything else we try to get organic. But even now, our government is allowing food producers to say it's organic, even if it just has a little bit of organic stuff in it. So you're being lied to, and the only way that you're going to get around it is to get educated, guys. Like, fluoridated, why would you be using fluoridated toothpaste when the government just admitted that it's poison? I mean, think about it, guys. You have to become self-educated. You cannot believe anything the administrative state tells you. And their news agencies like CNN or NPR, government subsidized news. Do you really think these people tell the truth? They're college educated class, just repeating government propaganda to your children and brainwashing them to hate their country. Is that what you want for your country? It's not what I want for my country and my kids. Now let's check out this other FBI whistleblower case. Remember when the head of the FBI and the DOJ lied and said that parents weren't being targeted for protesting their children being secretly transgendered at schools? Remember that lie that he told you? Let's hear from an FBI whistleblower about the truth.
I wish there was a reasonable explanation for that question.
There isn't.
And people blew the whistle and said, this stuff is crazy. Americans are being targeted. Mr. Friend, you ever been to a school board meeting?
Yes, I have.
FBI ever sent you to the parking lot of a school board meeting?
Yes, they have.
And in the parking lot of a school board meeting where the FBI sent you, you were taking down information.
Merrick
about
Garland
people's
lied to
license
the
plates.
American people. Nothing happened to
Now, it
him.
wasn't the first time you'd been to a school board meeting, was it?
No, I went on my own as a private citizen.
As a parent.
Yes.
And so there you were. It must have been quite an interesting perspective. There you were taking down the information of people, parents attending school board meetings on behest of the FBI. And you had been one of those parents at a school board meeting. How did that feel?
Well, after I attended privately, my colleagues teased me that they were probably going to start investigating me.
You used to go after the worst of the worst, didn't you?
Yes, I believe so.
You went after people who looked at child porn,
Yes.
people who were sexually exploiting children.
Yes.
And then
He does.
you were in the parking lot of a school board meeting, taking down the information of parents. What happened to the cases that you were working to protect our communities from the worst predators that exist?
I was told they were not to be resourced, and then after I was suspended, they were handed off to local law enforcement.
Wow. So the FBI just decided it was more important to have you in that parking lot of that school board meeting than getting the worst of the worst away from people that they could harm.
That's correct.
But you deserve the consequences you are getting, according to the ranking member. Mr. O'Boyle, what the ranking member said that when people break the law, they deserve the consequences they get. And it doesn't matter that they served in the military. So what law did you break before the FBI packed up all your stuff and moved it across the country to Virginia?
No true law. The only thing I broke was not towing the line for the FBI. Like I said, when I opened, my oath is to the Constitution.
Politicized FBI.
The FBI.
And our laws provide you avenues to talk to Congress, to talk to your supervisors about those concerns, right?
Correct.
And so you didn't deviate from that, did you?
No.
You didn't go to the media first, did you?
No.
You used what the law provided, and your family has paid an exquisite price for that, haven't they?
They have.
How old were your children when they moved you across the country?
6, 5, 3, and 2 weeks.
A 2-week-old baby. Could you get your stuff?
6 weeks later.
Oh, so for 6 weeks, almost every possession to your name, the FBI had and wouldn't give back to you. How did you, what time of year was it? Was it winter, summer?
When I reported, it was in September. So when we were traveling, it was summertime essentially. So we had basically summer clothes, but then we were basically stranded in Wisconsin, which is where we're from. It gets cold there pretty quick.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I'm a Florida man. But what was it like when you had to go and explain to your wife that you didn't have coats for your children because the FBI wouldn't give them back to you?
It was horrible. I mean, we were asking family for clothes and excuse me. It was a difficult time.
Yeah, you became a charity case, didn't you?
I did, and now I get derided for that. I never thought I'd have to accept charity in my life. I thought I would be able to take care of my family, but I'm grateful for everyone who has provided charity to me. That even includes the former colleagues.
And that's what I'm telling you guys. If you're a brave freedom fighter, you have to have parallel systems. The only reason this guy was able to survive because they cut his payoff, right? Suspended him, deprived him of his assets because he whistle blew, because we knew that Merrick Garland was lying to the American people about the FBI secretly spying on parents who went to school board meetings because they were upset that public school teachers were secretly transgendering their children, and they did not want that to happen. So instead of investigating the school board and the schools, they sent FBI agents. Merrick Garland sent FBI agents to spy on parents. And we now know that the FBI had a secret spying program as recently as March of this year, classifying people who shopped at Dick's Sporting Goods or Cabela's or people who purchased Bibles or guns as potential domestic violent extremists. So if you support traditional American values, the current Harris-Biden administration has classified you as a potential domestic violent extremist. You can fact check me. I did a video about this, about suing the FBI for illegally classifying people as violent extremists against the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And here is a whistleblower who's verifying this very thing. Well, this guy went on CNN and PMSNBC and lied to the American people, Merrick Garland, about the FBI spying on parents who are simply trying to protect their children.
Church. I would name the church to give them recognition, but I'm too worried that the FBI would send informants to infiltrate that church as well.
Yeah, well, they've already done that with the Catholics. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from North Dakota is recognized. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Durham report dropped this week, and it's an absolute, the politically motivated misconduct by the FBI and the DOJ is outlined in very, very specific detail.
They're
And it's an
political
absolute
hacks.
damning indictment on the FISA court. And the response from DOJ and Director Wray continues to be that all of the people engaged in that conduct are no longer with the DOJ or the
Lies.
FBI. And Director Wray has emphasized the importance of doing things the right way. Essentially, it's all in the past. Nothing to
They were following orders. They were following orders, guys.
see here. Just trust us. Mr. Allen, do you think the FBI leadership does things the right way?
No, sir.
Mr. Friend?
No, sir.
Mr. O'Boyle?
No, sir.
And the Durham report detailed that submitted warrant applications to the FISA court without interviewing witness, failed to correct warrants after learning more information about a witness's reliability, failed to disclose exculpatory evidence to a secret court, omitted information that contradicted what they had told the court previously when they were trying to get extensions, and in one case, they actually fabricated an application for the warrant. And in a letter dated on May 15th, the DOJ informed us that we don't have to worry about it anymore because they revised some forms, issued a whole bunch of new guidance. They promised us that they have a better way to maintain files. They implemented more training. The FBI loves training. Bureaucrats love training. They have more internal oversight. They have a rigorous and robust oversight program. They instituted technical updates and they automated workflow. You know what's not mentioned anywhere in that letter? Consequences. There are no consequences, no penalty,
Nothing.
no punishment. So if there's no consequences, there's no prosecutions, then there is no incentive for the DOJ or the FBI to hold themselves accountable. And the single best way for the American people to learn about the abuses carried out by our government is by whistleblower testimony.
That's right,
And so the
whistleblowers.
single most effective way to keep these things from coming to light is to make sure it is known that dissent will not be tolerated and speaking out will be dealt with severely. And just this week, the IRS whistleblower was removed from a case at the request of the DOJ in a clear case of retaliation and violation of the law. So, Mr. Allen,
They're using the IRS to
when you're
retaliate
talking
against
about
people who
this and what
disagree
you
with
all
their
have gone through
politics.
and your families have gone through is just heart-wrenching. And Congressman Gates just walked through it. But
They
what
want
are
to
the
silence you.
consequences
They
moving
want to
forward?
silence the American people.
I mean, I think in light of what's happened to us and what's happened to all the people involved with that investigation, I think it definitely has to send a chilling effect across the agency. And there's just an incongruence in how personnel at a high level have been treated and how we've been treated.
Mr. Friend, this is a public setting, we're in testimony, but can you tell the American people what has happened in your life since you have come forward? And
Listen to this. This is going to blow your mind.
Well, thank you for that.
Turn it
beyond
up.
Leaking my medical information to the New York Times and insinuating that I was under disciplinary action for shooting a firearm in my backyard inappropriately.
So, New York Times, enemy of the American people, lapdog of the administrative state, targeting a guy who exposed corruption in the FBI, trying to diminish his testimony and his service to the country by saying, oh, well, he did something wrong in the past. These reporters are scum of the earth. Scum.
I was also denied the opportunity to seek outside employment on 2 occasions, denied my training records, which in essence is denying me outside employment. The Inspector General is now aware of the illegal and improper gag order that was issued on me that basically told me that I was not allowed
Got
to
it
speak
turned
to
up
my
all the way,
family
guys.
or my attorney about the existence of an investigation.
So if one of your former colleagues is
Best
looking
I
at
can do
this
for
and
you guys.
watching this, and they have information that they think is subject to being shed light on with the American people, do you think how you've been treated would give them pause?
It has, and that's why they laundered the information to me, and that's how I've been able to expose more things now from the outside.
And Mr. O'Boyle, we just heard from your interaction with Mr. Gates and how all of this occurred and all of the hardships you've gone through. If one of your really good friends, your former colleagues, came to you,
Double tap that screen. Give me some likes, guys. Give me some love.
covered up, and I think the American people need to know about it. What advice would you give them?
I would tell them first to pray about it, long and hard.
Clearly,
And I
he's
would
an
tell them
enemy.
I could take it to Congress for them, or I could put them in touch with Congress, but I would advise them not to do it.
So you would legitimately try to protect one of your colleagues from doing what you have done?
Absolutely.
And how do you think that solves being able to shine light on corruption, weaponization, any kind of misconduct that exists with the American people?
It doesn't solve it, but the FBI will crush you. This government will crush you and your family if you try to expose the truth about things that they are doing that are wrong. And we are all examples of that.
I can't think of a more sobering way to end a hearing.
Disgusting.
Gentleman yields back. I want to thank, we say this every hearing that we thank the witnesses, but, and I mean it every time, but I really mean it. Thank you for coming forward, sharing your story, and standing up for the Constitution, doing your duty.
And look, it's not just America. America is basic. So this is all part of the script, guys. This is being pushed by the World Economic Forum and these non-governmental organizations, primarily funded by the government and people like Bill Gates and George Soros. They want to silence you, and they control the administrative state. Obama, somehow or another, was able to basically infiltrate all of our administrative agencies with people who are basically thought police, European-style leftists, and they're still in control. They've never left power. And this is an example of what he put in place. And now we're going to watch all it is, guys. Our administrative agencies are emulating what's going on in Europe. Let's take a look at what's going on in Europe. This is going to blow your mind, guys. It's happening everywhere. And if we don't stop it, we're doomed.
The College of Policing guidelines on this then, that basically these incidents, even though they're not crimes, should be recorded as hate incidents. You support that?
We follow the College of Policing guidelines.
Right, so that those hate incidents basically then can be seen by advanced checks, even though they're not crimes.
Or the airport.
They can be seen by advanced checks for people maybe going for certain types of jobs. They will come up, even though there's no crime involved.
Social credit
that's
score.
fine by you.
They'll occur if a particular type of security check is taken. Yes, they'll be available to be disclosed.
Do you know very much about the case of Harry Miller that I think you referred to at the beginning there in the High Court? You know about the case?
I know about the case. I'm not an expert in it.
Right, okay. Well, you know that because of various tweets he liked, as it were.
Hey, just really quick, guys. One of the ways you can also help my channel is I know you're commenting in the sidebar, but if you scroll down where there's the comment section, give me a bunch of comments because that helps me get more views, to be honest. Go down to the comments and start making comments because when I shoot in vertical, I maybe get one comment and I'll get 100,000 views. It just looks weird. And always tap that like button and the subscribe button and share these videos with your friends. I am the only lawyer you're ever going to meet who speaks out against corruption like this. There's nobody else out there who's brave enough to do this. And it's because I feel obligated coming from a Marine father, a Marine background myself, and taking an oath to uphold the Constitution. This is serious business to me, guys. Look, if you're just going to sit by and just be happy and let the government take away all your freedoms, this is the wrong channel for you. But if you're somebody who wants to rally around freedom and help me build this channel out and help make America a safe place for freedom, man, help me build out this channel. Comment, like, subscribe, save, press that save button. Do everything that you can to get the word out, not for me, but for our country and for your country if you're in Australia or England, where you're being flooded with jihadists who hate you by two-tier Kier, fight back, support my channel. I'm here for you.
He was called by a policeman who said that he had come to check his thinking. Check his thinking. What is your view on that?
That's a matter, I mean, the circumstances of that particular case are a matter for Humberside Police, of course. I can't comment on whether the officer did the right thing or not. I wasn't part of that decision-making process. My point is,
all right. But I mean, you're a very senior policeman.
Yes,
right?
I'm giving you my
This
opinion.
just happens to be a case where Harry Miller had the perseverance, whatever, to go to the High Court. We have no idea how this is, how many times this might be happening. He was told that he was had to check his
Thank you,
thinking,
Tiffany.
right? And basically, he came back to this is sort of Orwellian. And basically, when it actually came down to the case, which was about him, I think he liked some sort of limerick about a trans woman, something like this. Essentially, the policeman then went into all sorts of strange details about why he'd come, and then said, "I've been on a course about it." So your policemen are going on courses about this sort of thing, right? The end result is that this man was taken to a very, very, a level of depression because of what was happening, because someone felt that they could check his thinking. I do not find that that is an extremely frightening prospect that we're facing now.
It's a matter for Humberside. I can't comment on the Humberside Police case. All I can talk about is what the Metropolitan Police's approach to this is, because that's relevant to Londoners. And, the Metropolitan Police approach is in line with the College of Policing guidance, which is that we recognise that it's important to understand incidents.
I can't comment on things like that I know are true, because it really don't affect any Londoners. The guy's full of crap. By the way, I'm seeing comments in the sidebar that you're not able to comment. Well, that explains why I don't get comments. So guys, do me a big favor. When you're done, when I stop streaming, go back and make as many comments as you can and make this a really active thread. Do everything you can to make this video get love from the algorithmic gods. We already know that Google hates people like me. So do everything you can to get the word out, that maybe make them start liking me. You know what I'm saying? But listen to this feeble-minded weakling talking about, I'll kind of talk about that. I mean, this whole transgender thing, we just found out today that the federal government, our government, has been hiding and burying a study that was released by the medical community saying that these drugs that they're giving to these kids, like testosterone and chopping off their body parts, it actually has the opposite effect of making them happy. It makes them worse. It makes them worse. Trying to uphold this false identity that's being pushed upon them by the medical community, who stands to make billions of dollars in hormone replacement therapy for life, in surgeries, plastic surgeons. They're all donating money to a certain political party to make this happen. And those studies are being buried by your government, guys. They're not trying to protect you. They're trying to use you as their own personal slush fund.
Which may amount to some form of
Yes, I know you've already been through that. You've already told me. But look, the judge, Mr. Justice Knowles, in this particular case, right, compared the actions of the police to the Gestapo or to the Stasi, right? He said very, very worrying, very, very worrying. And there is this sort of assumption made somehow that if someone says something which, that is a hate instance, this will automatically possibly lead to a hate crime. And he said that this was, in this particular case, that there was absolutely no evidence to suggest that at all. Right?
No evidence.
But it's still been reported. He's still on the statistics.
That's right.
All I can say, I do understand the point you make. Of course I do.
Worm.
Disproportionality is...
Type in worm in the sidebar for me.
Maybe this was disproportionate. I'm not giving a view on that. What I'm trying to say, I'm trying to reassure people...
Disproportionate.
No, I'm saying you are suggesting it's disproportionate. I'm saying that...
No, I'm suggesting it's more than that, actually, sir.
Right. I'm trying to sort of get to what you want to hear from me, which is it important for the Metropolitan Police to recognise these kind of issues as potentially important? Yes, it is. Should we know that when we go to a neighbour...
When I hear this guy, this sounds like a typical college professor. Oh, you're engaged in hate speech. You said something bad about somebody who's part of our political club. So we're going to note it down and make sure that you're not allowed to come into our safe spaces. That's all this guy's doing. And then they're trying to pass laws to declare anything they disagree with as hate speech. That's how the left is going to take away the First Amendment. Mark my words, if Camel Toe gets into office, it's over, guys. No more First Amendment. It's going to be gone. She's going to shut down X somehow or another, and it's done. There will be no more Constitution. That's by design, and it's going to happen. Mark my words.
For example, or any other kind of dispute, should we know that previously, when officers have been there, one or other of the parties has used offensive language for whatever reason, based on the personal characteristics of the other person? Is that an important thing for the officer to know in understanding how best to deal with the incident in front of them? I would say yes. So I think the principle is correct. And if you speak to many officers...
So he thinks the principle is correct, that if somebody says something offensive, that the officer needs to note it down because it might be important information to know later when they try to come up with a pretextual reason to arrest someone or deny them public access to something or affect their political social credit score. Guys, this is exactly what's going on in communist China. We do not want to have anything to do with this crap. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that we need to clean house and get rid of these thought police while we still can, because the young generation is being brainwashed by public school teachers and Marxist college professors to think that this is okay to lock people up for having a different opinion than the thought police have. It's happening. 1984 is here, guys. George Orwell is here. It's up to us, the older generation, the wise generation, to start educating our youth, homeschool our kids, and start preaching, man, on the street corner if you have to. This has to stop. I mean, I feel so sorry for people in Canada and the United Kingdom that they have scumbags like this saying we have to note things down if someone's insulted or offended. So we could try to, the officer needs to know this to use it against them later. It's hateful. It's hateful. Well, what about locking people up for having an opinion? That's hateful too, isn't it? Give me a bunch of ones if you think it's hateful to lock someone up because they have an opinion.
You'll know that they go back time and time again to these kind of things, and they escalate. And this is the whole purpose of making the record, so that we understand.
This was a case that was not going to escalate. The judge made that perfectly clear. You're making this assumption, and as a result, going down a very, very dangerous road. Very dangerous road indeed, I would say. And if I could just sort of ask you as well in that case, to go back to the guidelines, whether we're talking about hate crime or hate incidents, what is your view on the definition, for example, that the word the victim, in the victim's perception, that this is possibly a hate crime?
Copy that.
First of all, so the word victim is used immediately. Why do you not use the word complainant? Wouldn't that be legally far safer?
Copy that, Rami. I got you. The gain's probably up too high.
These are all
a little better.
Issues which have been debated.
Hold on, let's do a mic check real quick. Is the sound good right now? Should I turn the gain down, guys? Give me a 5x5 if the sound is good now, or is it better like this? Sound is good now, like this distance, Rami. Sorry about that. I'm still trying to tweak my gain. Okay, so I'm gonna tweak the gain down a little bit, guys. There's a little bit of a delay, so when I see your comments. So I'm turning the gain now. It's about midway. How's that? I've got the mic about 6 inches away from me, and I've got it about midway on the gain. Don't swallow that mic like a camel. Oh my God, you're killing me. Is it okay? The sound's okay right now, guys. All right, sorry about that. You guys got to tell me, man. Look, I'm a one-man band. I get up at about 04 and I work all the way through. Today I worked all the way through till 4 o'clock and got up trying to get the show ready. And I'm not a technical guy at all. So thanks a lot, guys. You got it. You got to correct me. It's like iron sharpening iron. We're not going to help make the world a better place if we can't correct our brothers and sisters. So let's get back to this worm over here, this mealy-mouthed worm. A typical example of a government official, exactly why we need to abolish administrative agencies and delete laws. Like Chili De Castro says, we need to delete laws and get people like him out of office. Whatever happened to people like John Wayne, Frank Sinatra, like real men who could say what they wanted to say without worrying about offending someone? And why are people so weak? that they can't take a little bit of an offense. It's absurd, guys. It's crazy.
About clearly, and there's different approaches one can take. But what I come back to is our job is provide a service which people can be confident in. And I think if we start to use technical language with members of the public, they may not really understand what complainant exactly means, whereas victim is a commonly understood term, which is
assuming already that there's a problem.
Well,
if you put victim in the definition, it's assuming already.
This is a national position that's been adopted, and it's not for the Metropolitan Police Service, unless there's reason to divert from it. So the terminology victim flows through everything that we do these days. There's the Victims Code, the Victims Charter, the Home Secretary talks about victims' rights. That boat has sailed, I'm afraid, and we use the term victim to describe a range of people. In technical terms, if you're approaching a court case, you're a complainant. If you're making, but actually, we choose to use the word victim because that is the common parlance. That is what people understand. Some people don't like that. I understand that. But we have to use the word that is most acceptable to most people, and victim happens to be that word.
It doesn't worry you, for example, if you go on with that definition, that basically it requires no evidence whatsoever, that this is a unique thing in that it actually requires no evidence. In fact, it requires not only no evidence, but it's the perception of the victim along or anybody else. What does that actually mean as a policeman? How would you define that, or anybody else?
Well, the purpose of the wording as it is to make sure that there's a degree of subjectivity, because it's the important thing to understand about harassment and victimization there's the physical act, but then there's the perception and the effect it has on the individual. These are very difficult things to get right in exact language, but we try. And this definition is designed to recognize the subjectivity that if you feel that the motivation behind the commentary is based on your personal characteristics and offensive, then that's how you feel. That's your reality.
So what?
But therefore, it then
Who cares?
should immediately become a crime statistic
Who
or a
gives a
hate
shit?
incident statistic.
Throw a set of balls.
Well, that's how it.
I could feel something you're saying to me now is somehow hateful. What? Can I go and report it? Yes, I can.
Well, I'd like to think I'm not being offensive.
I'm just using that as an example, and you know full well what I mean, sir. Here.
No.
Listen, the fact is that it seems to me that you are now policing people's thoughts. If a police officer turns up and says, "I've come to check," I would need to check your thinking, right? The mere fact that even if he was going above and beyond these guidelines, that he felt he could do that. And what worries me is how many people, right, who don't have the various perseverance maybe of Harry Miller, actually would just simply go along with it because they're none the wiser.
I'm not quite sure I'm not sure what you want me to say. I mean, I'm trying to set out the general position. The specifics of the Humberside case is difficult for me to comment on for obvious reasons. And it's not my force. I don't understand the very, very fine detail of what you do. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's not something that's familiar to me. What I can do is describe the approach the Met Police takes and explain the reasons why we take that approach. And that's pretty much the approach most police forces take. College of Policing guidance is evidence of that. And I think it's the right approach for the reasons I've articulated. Will there be occasions where somebody gets it wrong? Undoubtedly, there are all the time, not just with this type of thing, but with all sorts of things. We're all human. But it doesn't mean that the principle is wrong, I think.
I think the principle is wrong. I think that it is. I'm alarmed to hear you say that you have no problem with the guidelines. I am very alarmed because this is making you into the thought police, it's making you the thought police, not just the police. And when you think as well, what we've been discussing here today about sexual offences, about violent crime going up, the mere fact that whether it's the Met Police or wherever it is over the country are doing this kind of thing, will make most people extremely frustrated at the very, very least.
Wow. I mean, unbelievable. You've got a law enforcement officer over there in the UK, London, basically saying that, yeah, we need to police people's thoughts. And this is just part of this new globalist, new world order agenda where you're not allowed to have any thoughts or think differently than the administrative state. And if you do, you will be demonetized. Literally, you will have your social credit score destroyed. And if there are internal people inside whistleblowing on these illegal activities of policing thoughts, they too will be targeted and their families will be targeted. And it's just like what's going on in communist China, guys. and it's really, really sad. So we've been on for a couple hours. So I just want to, thank my audience again for showing up, and thank you guys for telling me about my gain being too high up on the microphone. I had no idea. So it's been a long adventure and journey tonight, but tonight we learned about whistleblowers and how the FBI and police agencies are targeting whistleblowers and their families for speaking out. And you've literally heard these whistleblowers say, don't do it. Don't whistleblow, because the FBI will crush you. And it's just like, wow, guys, wow. The servant has become the master. So again, I want to thank you guys for the super chats and all the stuff that you're doing to support my channel. But another way that you can support my channel is to get a digital version of my ebook. So this is the soft cover. This is not for sale right now, but the same image is on is on my ebook. And if you go to my YouTube channel for $19.99, you can get a copy of my journey to becoming a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad. And it's there. I can teach you if you're a single mom or you're someone struggling, don't have the money to go to a Marxist education, a college or a law school, then you could consider trying to become a lawyer the old-fashioned way by studying under a judge or a lawyer for a period of usually 4 years and then taking the bar exam. And during that time, you'll learn the practical applications of law like I did. I tried 3 cases to the jury as a certified law student before I passed the bar exam. I also did a lot of depositions. I learned how to do a lot of litigation, criminal and civil. I ended up externing for the California Court of Appeal. And the journey, you know what they say, it's not the destination, it's the journey. That's the truth, guys. It's the journey. Becoming a lawyer was an amazing experience. I put it up there with graduating Marine Corps boot camp. That's how I felt. I was just blown away that I passed the bar exam, and I didn't even have a law degree. It was great. And I was one of about 80 people in the whole state of California since the state's inception to have done it at that time. And since that time, more have done it, because I have a website called lawofficestudy.net where I talked about it. And I have this video. I've got about 100,000 views. And then all of a sudden I saw Kim Kardashian going on that same program. And I think she passed the baby bar after like the 3rd attempt. So I talk about that in my book, and I talk about my experiences of how I became a lawyer on the Law Office Study program. And I also discuss the other states that offer similar programs, not too many of them. And I also, I'm working on another book, The Racist Origins of the American Bar Association and law schools. Law schools, a lot of them were created to prevent Black people from being able to practice law. That's a true story, and I'll talk about that in one of my later books. I just want you guys to understand that we cannot discriminate against people based upon the way they look or their race. You certainly can discriminate against people for being communists or Nazis, and the way you discriminate against them is to not do business with them. But you don't try to silence them like our current government's trying to do. The best way to discriminate against them is to let them talk, because now you know exactly the kind of people you don't want to be around. You know the kind of people you don't want to do business with. But anytime you get the government involved in silencing people, that's a bad thing. That's not their job. The government's job is to leave us the F alone and to allow us and to protect commerce. So, for example, if there's a contractual dispute between me and my neighbor, rather than us shoot each other, the government can step in and referee and moderate that dispute through a lawsuit, for example. So to avoid self-help, the government has good purposes to regulate commerce between states, to provide for a military defense, to make sure that, commerce is safe. But other than that, this deep state, nanny state, administrative Obama state that we have right now needs to be completely destroyed. It needs to be thrown off. And the Declaration of Independence has a blueprint for that. So in the meantime, I invite all of you guys in my channel and other people to double tap that screen to get me some likes. And I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. My other videos that I'm going to do probably this week is going to be more focused on illegal arrest, false arrest, and stuff like that. But I really felt it incumbent upon me to expose whistleblowers and what's going on and how people inside government are exposing the corruption within the Obama-Harris Biden regime that we have right now, and how they're being ostracized and how their families are being destroyed and how we're being lied to by Merrick Garland and all these officials, and how the legacy media is covering it up and pretending like there's nothing to see here. So you know who your enemy is. Repeat after me. The legacy media is the enemy of the American people. And so now I'm going to go to my channel and thank everyone for showing up like I always do. Kyle, I know you got to eat, brother. Go ahead and eat your chow. Thanks for showing up. Rami, again, brother. Oh, you shared my link. Cool. Rami helped me out editing the kids out of that whistleblower video that I did with that woman who exposed how our government is spending almost $500 million flooding our country with unaccompanied minors with no parents, flooding our country with children, and we have no idea where those children are going. It's a child trafficking operation, and we know that the FBI covered up the Epstein Island, pedophile island debacle, and we know that that P. Diddy was doing all the same kind of stuff with kids, and we're just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And then Roger Lane, thank you for showing up, brother. And it's always cool when I outlive my audience, when I see people nodding off. Yeah, man. Hopefully I'll be able to come on tomorrow, guys. I don't know. I got a bunch of files I'm working on. I represent parents as well who have been discriminated against by the school districts and been silenced. So there's a lot of things that I'm doing behind the scenes that I can't share with you guys right now. But I'm telling you, I'm on your team. Team MPE is your team. And again, help support the channel with super chats anytime you can. Just Willie, thanks for showing up, brother. Tiffany Dagley showing up. And then guys, when the show stops, please make sure to comment on the video to give it some algorithmic love, like down in the actual comments, because usually I don't get any. And then Roger Lane and Jeff, dude. Oh, Jeff, I didn't even see the super chat. Thank you, brother. Thanks for the $2 super chat, Jeff. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I didn't notice. I was just so emotional about what's going on in my country. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rami. Thank you, Scott. And Joseph Winkleman and Jim and everybody for showing up. Man, I've got such a huge audience. Cops are 5150. Yeah, go check out Chili. That's cool. And look, you can watch both of us. You can have me open on one screen and have Chili open on the other. I want to make sure Chili gets plenty of love. And I want to make sure I got everyone. Black LaBelle Kane, thank you. I'm sorry about the mic being too loud, brother. I did turn it down. And yeah, I'm seeing that microphone. Oh, you guys don't like the microphone. Sorry, man. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the show. So guys, remember, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And they're going to at some point. So with that being said, Semper Fi, do or die.